downright
cowboys.
hootenanny. It wasn't
asking.
Brokeback Wedding, no.
Oh, well, whatever. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. But, so did they like have like games and stuff, like cowboy games? Did you have
Oh,
to
yeah.
like
They had lasso.
like lasso, like the groom has to like lasso the bride?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they did a traditional, what is it, deflowering ceremony
Wait, what?
where they just deflower the bride right there on the dance.
Oh, we didn't do that at my wedding.
No. It'd been a lot cooler if you did.
You were there. I mean,
Oh, that's right.
we didn't do that. That wasn't part of it.
Yeah, he ties her up with the lasso first, and everybody takes
Hog
turns.
ties her right in the middle of the
It's like a square dance, kind of, but with dicks.
I'm glad I'm not a cowboy.
Yeah, that would suck. They do have nice boots.
Yeah, I've never been one to get into cowboy boots.
I want a hat.
I don't want one. I don't want a hat either.
They're so good when it's raining or when it's sunny.
Okay, yeah, I could see the raining part of it.
In an
That would
apocalypse,
be cool.
I'd want a cowboy hat for all purposes.
Maybe in the apocalypse, yeah, because if you're not so much worried about what the, I mean,
I
I
care
guess
what
it's
it looks like.
functionality over fashion. You're probably right there. It's
I
probably
bet it's waterproof for rain, so you could also use it as a bucket.
the guy I work with has a big gnarly cowboy hat he puts on.
Yeah, but that was stupid. That's
It's just
no. Well,
it's like, why?
whatever.
You're not a cowboy though.
He feels like he is.
Yeah.
What, urban cowboy?
Urban Kelly. He looks nothing like John Travolta.
Maybe it's like the lumberjack fad. Or
He does
hipster.
wear flannels. It might be hip to do cowboy boots, cowboy hat, and flannels now. Big belt buckle.
I got a big belt buckle on right
Do you?
now. It's got a canoe on it.
Well, why don't we show the listeners?
Check what I got going on down here.
All right, we are completely live and shared out. If you want to.
Shared out.
For some reason, my tweet's not going out.
Well,
Come on, tweeter.
Retweet.
Tweeter and the monkey man.
I never did Twitter.
Yeah, it was Twitter. I don't know. Tweet.
Twitter's awesome. Hello to all our Twitter followers.
Yo, tweeters. We are live for part 2 of Ghost. Why does it say World War III still?
I don't know. I got to get that figured out. For some reason, it shows like whatever the last time it was cached. Since we do the same live stream URL basically every time.
Oh, so it just shows our last live feed up on there.
Something,
That ain't
something
worth a
weird about
damn.
it. I tried to update it before I hit stream this time, and it just still didn't work. So, whatever. All right. I hear you.
Why are my papers so loud?
I don't know. Why are your papers so loud?
You know there's a state park where that big Hollywood sign is?
I don't know.
You mean in Hollywood?
Yeah.
That's a park, state park?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We give everybody a minute or two more to get caught up with the.
I'm just doing my shares, baby.
All right, well, I'll be back in just a second.
Tick, 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 tick. How come when I take a nap I feel extra tired?
Yeah, it's funny how like a 20-minute nap sometimes can make you feel like
Ruin your
refreshed.
day. Oh.
Well, sometimes you can get a 20-minute-er in and be like, and then sometimes you're just screwed.
Well, you're
like,
right about the 20-minute, but if I go for like an hour, then I'm screwed.
Oh yeah, anything long, any long duration nap will ruin you.
Like I feel like I should just sleep till tomorrow at that point.
Yeah, I mean you're already there. You're half. I hate taking like a 3-hour nap, waking up at like 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
That's the
God.
worst feeling ever.
Because you know you're going to be up till 12, 1.
Yeah,
3.
yeah. It's like fuck, I gotta be up in 5 hours. That's only for people that have day jobs, I guess.
Yeah. And working midnight sucks.
You know, I
I'll say
assume
that.
I bet ghosts
Everybody
don't have to
mows the
worry
grass
about that.
while you're sleeping. What?
I bet ghosts don't have to worry about that.
Do you think ghosts have to sleep, rest, regain their power, their energy?
I would think they're sleeping at all times. Maybe.
Next week's show real quick.
What's that?
Said you want to pick our next week's show yet?
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
We'll come around real quick and take a look at my doc. I don't want to say any of the names out loud on stream.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get people's hopes up. Maybe they'll hear something they really want to hear. And
Well, if they really want to hear it, maybe they can tell us about it.
Point anything out you want to do.
Oh yeah, that one there. Yeah, that one there.
First or second one?
No. I mean the band. Yeah, that one there. What you got organs on that for?
I'll show you.
Why has your computer got all this stuff up here?
Lots of tabs. Skeletal changes related to it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's one avenue I didn't look at for that. Yeah,
Just something I
think we
saw
should do
cool.
that for our next show. That's a good one.
All right, we'll talk about it.
Some guys that like pierce themselves with swords for a living and like freak shows.
You mean like sword swallowers?
You can move their internals.
Well, looks like we're going live for an audience of. Oh, audio is low.
Audio
JB
is
says
low.
the audio is low.
What does that mean?
Yo.
The audio is low.
Say
it's
hi to
probably 'cause
JB,
we were
Alex.
across the
Do you know
room.
JB?
I don't think so.
He knows you.
Oh, neat. Hey, JB.
We'll see if that's any better.
Is that any better?
Hey, JB, let me know, man.
If it's not any better, I shall stick you.
The audio might have been low
With
because
a
we weren't
plasma
talking right in
grenade.
our mics either.
Blame it on the Anu.
Naughty Shocky.
Yep. We're busting out all forms of Anu today.
Nanu.
The Anu, Anunnaki.
Oh, yeah. They're like your favorite ones, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, other than like 9/11. But yeah,
I mean, they have like ancient peoples.
are you geared up for the 9/11 show? It's like 3 weeks away and I'm
I'm
pumped.
going to have to shift to get all geared up.
Oh,
for that one.
man.
I'm going to run and make sure the audio is going to be right back.
All right. You ought to put that up on the screen there. YouTube gig. Yeah, do it. Do it. I'll fucking log in and do it right here. I will not.
I wonder what he needs to hear. Was he got something in there that looks at the levels better?
I do not know.
I wonder if the Anunnaki communicated with all the other ancients, or if they were just solo doing their own thing. Did a lot of civilizations come up with the same technology at the same time? I wonder if the Anunnaki communicated with all the other ancients,
That's you.
or if they were just solo doing their own
Didn't
thing.
you just say
That's
that?
weird, yeah. Did a lot of civilizations I don't usually re-listen to myself while I'm talking to myself. How come
feel
I
like-
sound so different?
I think that's everybody though. I don't think you sound like what you perceive you sound like. You know.
I wish I did because I sound
I think your head's in
awesome
the
my
way. You know
head.
what I mean? Like, because my voice is coming out, but my head's in the way of making it sound like what it sounds like to me. I think that's everybody though. I don't think.
I'm confused. I can't listen to these people talk while we're talking. But
Yeah,
it's just
there's
us.
two other people talking while we're talking here. But my head's in the way of making
Us.
it sound like what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
I'm confused. I can't listen to
Wow.
these people talk. while
Gosh, Everett's really messing up today, you guys.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Less
Well, no.
insane feeling.
back.
I don't hear it recording back over to me.
Okay.
But it took a few seconds for it to start.
All right.
I guess that's the best I can do on the audio.
You got it cranked up?
Pretty much. I don't want to take it too much louder. Sound okay, Jables?
You're still below 11?
I'm imagining. Damn, we're down to one person watching. Yeah, well.
Well, would you look at that?
Just look at it.
Sound better, JB?
One watching now.
You guys about ready?
Oh yeah. Touched by a 12. Anunnaki. He said his comments are disappeared. Okay, rebooted. He hears us.
I see them all.
Yeah, you don't have to put it up. I got it right here. Don't you worry. I figured it all out.
Oh, no.
Okay?
He's figured it out, folks.
That's right.
All right, if you guys are ready, I'm going to roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. Hey, why don't you do
This podcast
that?
is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
All right, if you guys are ready, I'm going to roll that beautiful bean footage.
You got to get that figured out. Hey, why don't you do
This podcast is brought to you
Oh
by
man, we are having
Wow, we are in a
some technical
big loop
difficulties.
here, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
I'm just going to start
You got to get that figured out.
It was when Eric logged in. That's when it screwed up.
And we are having some
Is it
technical
your,
difficulties. Yes, we are. No, I can hear it.
I don't think it's mine. Hold on. Okay, it's mine.
Uh-huh.
Is it your,
Do we have Shepherdstown, Pennsylvania, as part of our gig here?
Is it the prison?
I think so, yeah, because Eric Hahn is telling us that the most haunted is Shepherdstown, Pennsylvania. So thanks for the input there, Eric Hahn.
Is it the prison?
I think so, yeah, because Eric Hahn is telling us that the most haunted. Yeah, dude, I can still hear this.
Oh, I know what it is. It's because I'm watching it.
Because you ain't worth a damn.
Why don't you shut up?
Not a damn.
I hate you, and I hope you get like the clap.
Oh, we're way behind.
Okay.
Jay says, "Ghost hacked your stream."
They knew we were getting on to him.
We're ought to be ready to go here in about 20 seconds.
Is that the correct time?
5:04.
That is correct, sir. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
Should be AM.
That was a UFO beaming back at you. Now, they've been coming here ever since 1946, and they have been living and working among us in vast quantities ever since. The government knows all about them. These leaders have decided to repress this information because of the tremendous shock that it would cause to our antiquated system.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad.
You're listening to Surreal Talk, a look inside the world of cults, conspiracies, and the paranormal. Brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
It's a good ghost.
Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it.
The whole truth about JFK, 9/11, Area 51, the Illuminati, the moon landings, Jesus and Magdalene, the CIA, KGB, and AIDS, the reptilian elite, Watergate, the New World Order, Bilderberg, the MK Ultra Project, the
You got
history of
nervous?
the world and the oppression of
You nervous?
consciousness.
This guy always gets me nervous.
God, the devil, heaven, hell, and the delicate fabric of the universe.
You gotta say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
Now your hosts, Eric and Everett.
And Alex.
And Alex. Welcome back, everybody. Part 2, Surreal Talk this week.
Yeah, part 2.
Let's go through the show starter notes. Welcome to Surreal Talk. It's, of course, a lineupmedia.fm production. You can go to lineupmedia.fm.com to check out all of our podcasts. Ranges from, let's see, we got MMA podcast. We got an NHL hockey podcast. Basically, anything you're into, we got a podcast on. So check out lineupmedia.fm.
Wait, don't you guys have a real famous hockey player?
Yeah, Kelly Chase and Darren Pang, both ex-NFL players. They do a...
NFL, huh?
Yeah, NFL. Sorry. NHL.
Right.
They do
Chase was an enforcer, wasn't he?
He was.
Oh, I remember
and Darren
that.
Pang was a goalie for Chicago, I believe.
So chasing pucks with Panger.
They're both chasing pucks to Panger. They're both on the broadcast team now for the St. Louis Blues. So that's
cool.
they do a good show. You can
And they
check
do a
them out.
podcast on our network.
NHLpodcast.com if you're into hockey. So, anyway, we're brought to. God damn it, I'm killing this. Eric normally does this every week, and before the show this time, he hands me the notes cold. And
I
goes,
blindsided him.
Hey, go
It was
for
great.
Don't even pre-read.
So if you're looking to get in any audiobooks, what a horrible lead-in that is. So if you're in audiobooks,
Give me the piece of paper.
Yeah,
Give
here
it
you
back.
go.
Give it here. I got this. All right. Welcome to Surreal Talk, a lineupmedia.fm production brought to you this week, and of course every week, by audible.com. Go to our website, surrealtalkpodcast.com, and find the banner for Audible to create your own 30-day trial account and get a free audiobook download. Also, if you're looking to do any shopping on Amazon, again, visit our really cool website. Click the Amazon banner. What color is that again?
Amazon colored, whitish, and
Whitish,
orangish.
orange.
Yeah.
Well, that helps me. So yeah, click the whitish, orangish Amazon banner, and anything that you purchase on your
It says Amazon. It's pretty easy to find. It's on the right-hand side.
anything you purchase during your shopping session is going to directly support our crazy conspiracy show.
Yeah, so you want to go on there and buy a Proton Pack.
Right? You know what?
Make sure you click our link first on our website.
Full lights and sound.
It's the movie extra. What was it? The prop. You can get that. I don't know.
What else we got? Is that it for our intro?
That's the intro, yeah.
That's
of
our
course.
intro. So we're talking ghosts this week. Now that we finally got through that.
But I think more important than ghosts, we're talking ghost stories, hauntings, and haunted places. Yes.
On part 2, we talk haunted places. Boy, we're all over each other. It's mostly me. I'm just screwing this up, Walter.
That's all right. Well, why don't you let me start it out with one of the ones that I like.
So a haunted story that you like, I can only imagine.
This is the haunted La Laurie Mansion.
Ooh, La Laurie.
La
That's
Laurie,
in
New Orleans.
beautiful Nala.
So the La Laurie Mansion is a very, very haunted mansion in New Orleans. It became famous because of the cruel, became infamous because of the cruel mistress of this haunted house, Delphine M. Louis Chevalier Barthélemy de McCarty. That was her name. God, that's so long.
Those Cajun people have the longest crazy French names.
Isn't that gnarly, though?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, the whole deal is, like, this chick, she got married.
Chick.
Yeah. Well,
Remember
do you really want me to say that again? All right, hang on.
No,
Let me
say
get it
her name.
again.
This
Marie
woman.
Delphine
That's
M.
not my
Louis
problem.
Chevalier Barthélemy de McCarty.
My problem is the chick part.
This woman.
There you go. You got yelled at by a listener, remember? Do better. Do better
Yeah,
for
but
yourself.
I don't suspect it was for saying chick.
No, it's part of it,
Okay,
I'm sure.
if you guys have a preferred nomenclature for female,
Yeah,
if you
woman,
could just let
I
us
just
know.
Let you know. I let you know.
I like lady. I use
Lady.
that a lot.
Lady.
Well, this lady. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, anyway, so on the morning of April 10th, 1834, this is, now I'm reading a part of this verbatim from a GhostCityTours.com website. Anyway, on the morning of April 10th, 1834, a fire broke out at the luxurious house owned by Delphine La Laurie. The fire had brought to light 7 slaves who were starved, tortured, and chained in the upper part of the building. Yeah, so she was real mean to the slaves. What happened was her husband died, and after he died, she kind of lost it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Start taking it all out on these slaves.
Yeah, I mean,
I get had them locked up in a cage and upstairs. Sounds like.
well, apparently she was doing experiments on them. Slaves were found to be under extreme conditions. They were found. Well, when the authorities arrived, it said that
more than just sleeping in a shitty little log cabin they made him sleep in?
Oh yeah, she had set them in unnatural positions so that when she moved, her limbs were made. Oh my word! She had drilled a hole into the one dude's head, and there was a wooden spoon sticking out.
Oh, she was
Holy
trying to
dude,
get cannibal
she was
on her.
nuts.
Can you reread this or read this before?
No, yeah, I did, but I did not see that part about drilling the hole in the head and the wooden spoon. That's why it kind of just shocked the shit out of me. There's a wooden spoon stick.
It takes extreme
Wow.
distress to form a ghost. We know
I should have
that.
reread that. That was, I
Tell
don't
you
know
what,
how I
if
missed
somebody
that.
drills a hole in my head and sticks a
Shit.
wooden spoon in it,
I'll be coming back.
I'm coming back to haunt that bitch.
Yeah, that's the
You
least.
like your hotel, or I'm going to make sure nobody comes and stays here.
You know, and you got to think of it like at back then they had they didn't have cordless drills. You know what I mean? So it was one of those.
The old wood screw drill.
Black
Yeah.
and Decker? No Black and Decker?
No, you know what I'm talking about with like the.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway,
The old school.
Gosh, so yeah, this is a very, very haunted mansion. The chick was nuts. It's
The
actually
chick?
the lady was very crazy. It's still
I'm not letting you get away with that.
what? What if I'm talking about a baby chicken?
That's fine.
That's appropriate. Yeah.
Well, let's refer to La Laurie as a baby chicken.
Lori was a hotel, not a baby chicken.
No, it could have been a baby chicken.
You are horrible.
You don't know.
You are horrible.
Oh,
at
coming
this.
from the guy that fucked up the intro terribly, I'm horrible.
Man, that chick won't mind.
She might.
Whatever.
But the whole deal with it is that she did experiments on her slaves. When the authorities came in, there was a big fire after her third husband died. There was a huge fire. They came in and they found 7 to 10 slaves in the northern part of the mansion, and they were all dead, every one of them.
So they were dead before the fire.
Before the fire.
Okay.
So
It reminds me of, did you ever read Interview with the Vampire or watch the movie?
I saw the movie. I never
Kind of
read
stuff
it,
that was
though.
going on Louis' plantation where Lestat was going in and just killing the slaves, and they thought it was a big, haunted thing, and there was a witch involved. You'd have to read the book. It was pretty good, though.
Well, like the
Slaves
whole
did
deal
not
with
take
her.
kindly, especially in Louisiana. Actually, Louis lived in New Orleans. That's where he was from, so it was kind of the same situation. It might have even been based something on it.
That could be the same house.
Well, I doubt it. They burned his plantation down in the movie and in the book. So
Well, that one burned down.
Yeah, it did.
fair enough. We're gonna have to double check on that one.
Yeah.
So
that could be an eerie coincidence right there.
I got one that's not bad. Have you ever heard of the Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania?
I do. I have a little something on that.
Oh, that's the solitary one, right?
Yeah, it was built in 1829, and it's known for being the first prison of its kind to have a solitary confinement.
It was the first prison with solitary?
Yeah, it was weird. They kind of set the standard. You'd be completely isolated, living alone, eating alone in your cell. They even gave them, this is kind of cool, their own personal yard to exercise in. So they were completely isolated. They let them out in their own isolated yard. So that was pretty nuts. It was used from 70 on as a regular prison. It held the likes of like Al Capone and the famous bank robber Willie Sutton, if you ever heard of him.
Willie Sutton. Yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah. There's been reports of paranormal shit going on there since the 40s. But
it was just a regular prison. It wasn't like a mental institution, right?
No.
Okay, but still not having anyone to talk to for years on end will drive you crazy quick.
Yeah, that's true. You would think, since it's the first place with solitary, they didn't give two shits about prisoners back in the day.
Right, and they had no clue what would happen.
You're lucky to get your bread and water. You know what I mean? It might be a week before they come see you again. I mean, objection, speculation. But
well, and they said I believe in that penitentiary, whenever they pulled them out of a cell anytime to take them anywhere, they put a black hood over them so they could never see anything.
Yeah, that's the thing I read, too. Anytime they did, they kept them isolated by putting a black hood over their head. Isn't that screwed up?
So you don't even see guards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing.
From what they say, though, the prison was abandoned in 1971, and since then, it's even become more spooky around there. People include people seeing, like, shadowy figures that, like, run away whenever you approach them. There's a guard tower. There's like a dark figure that's seen near the guard tower.
Almost like a shadow person?
Almost like that, but the shadow people are in pictures. They've seen a bunch of people have seen like ghostly faces in some of the cell blocks. There's like an evil laugh that can be heard coming from cell block 12.
Ooh, like a real high-pitched laugh.
Yeah, like Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, he's crazy. Strange sounds like you'll hear any haunting, like footsteps, distant talking, banging the doors, shit like that.
Probably the dragging chains, I imagine. Prison.
I wouldn't mind checking that place out. Eastern Pennsylvania. Might be fun to take a look at.
I've got one, the Battery Carriage House Inn in South Battery, Charleston, South Carolina.
Interesting.
It was built in 1843. This historic bed and breakfast is actually the carriage house to the mansion, which currently serves as a private residence. So they have a bed and breakfast off to the side, but the main mansion is private. So the hauntings have never been tied to any one particular event. How usually, with all these hauntings, they tie them to one specific thing, like the fire, the chick,
right.
The lady abused the slaves.
Haunted.
Exactly. So the buildings are rich with history and many different apparitions. They have, which include pirates, soldiers, and have been set on the grounds. Oh my gosh! And inside some of the rooms, despite its alleged hauntings, the inn is still supposed to be a romantic place to stay.
Aww.
Some people get off on that spooky stuff.
I guess if you and your old lady are into that stuff, like, and you go, let's go stay at a haunted inn or something like that.
What about people who are
into
like,
that.
what is it whenever you're into having people watch you get it on? Exhibitionist?
A voyeur.
Well, no, voyeurs are the ones that like to watch.
That's just what you said, right?
Well, no, the ones who like to be watched is what I'm talking about. So you go to the hotel with the ghosts, and you let the ghost watch you.
Yeah, there's the ones that go to the graveyard at night.
We've come full circle now,
Casper's
people.
watching. Put on a show.
Alex, what about you? You got anything good? Let's hear something.
I've read one here on Edinburgh, Scotland.
Really?
Edinburgh,
I think.
Edinburgh.
Burrow?
That's kind of the way they pronounce it.
Okay, I think that's a different place, but all right.
Are you sure?
Alex, look, dude, I know how to read. I know how to pronounce a G, okay? It's Edinburgh.
Fair enough. You know how those English people are.
Oh, they pronounce everything with an extra E on their theaters. They don't care. Well, this side of the castle has a history back to the Iron Ages. It's hundreds of years old. And the visitor and staff have just been seeing apparitions of, a headless old man wearing an apron or drummer boys.
No-headed Nick.
Accompanying them. I don't know what
That's from Harry Potter, I believe.
Oh,
nearly
you lost
headless
me
Nick.
on that one.
No-headed
No-headed Nick? I thought that was a new ghost story.
They almost got like their own orchestra that comes through this haunted castle with a fife corps and just a large marching band, I guess is what I'm looking for.
Wait a minute, ghost marching band?
Yeah.
Wow.
Through the Edinburgh castle.
I wonder if they do the Ghostbusters theme.
I wonder who plays the tuba.
Why is that relevant?
It's not.
I don't know. To me, a spooky old castle is going to be the best place to find a ghost. You're walking through, and all of a sudden the temperature drops, and you're
a haunted castle does
Well,
seem more
especially
scary than a haunted house.
In that area,
castles.
was it Scotland that had the Banshees, or was it Ireland?
I don't know. It's way better than a haunted
that's
RV.
Scottish.
Is it Scottish?
I'm pretty sure that's Scottish. Banshees.
Which that's a type of ghost, right?
Yeah, banshee. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's like a spirit or a demon, so that counts.
And what, they paralyze people by screaming at them or something like
I
that?
don't know. They're whalers as far as I know.
Well, there was, in this castle, there's been reports of maidens on balconies just screaming out through the night and things like
Banshee,
that.
if you ask me.
Yeah,
Much like a banshee. And Ben's, this is hundreds of years old, all the way back to the Iron Age, which is, 1200, 1300? It's a terrible place. You got another one over there?
I sure do. I have the St. Augustine Lighthouse
Oh, in Florida.
in St. Augustine, Florida.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a famous one. I think I've seen pictures.
Well, that's
and
kind of what we're
movies and
talking about.
Okay.
Famous hauntings.
Yeah, I didn't know it was haunted. I just
You
knew
never put two and two together. That's what we were doing, did you?
what?
Talking about famous places.
Yeah, I just never. I know the lighthouse. I never knew it was haunted.
So the original St. Augustine Lighthouse was built in the 1600s. It, although, is no longer there. It's actually no longer there. The current lighthouse, which was built in 1874, is the one that's believed to be haunted. And it's believed to be haunted by a family, including children who died in reconstruction of the lighthouse. Multiple ghost sightings have occurred throughout the years, and the lighthouse's keepers have also reported being followed by footsteps. Oh, man, a figure has also been spotted in the lighthouse's basement. Ghost tours of the lighthouse are available. That just seems like propagandish.
Well, lighthouse.
If you're giving
advertising?
ghost tours,
Yeah.
if you're giving ghost tours.
I would not want to be in a lighthouse at night. That's a lonely, lonely place.
Why? It's light.
Because there's one guy that
Doesn't
lives
matter if
there.
it's night. It's light.
I visited a lighthouse when we went on vacation to Maine about a month ago. It was pretty neat.
Really?
I wouldn't want to live in it. It was out on a little island just off the mainland. We're not even talking 200 yards off. You know what I mean? You could, with a good arm, you might be able to chunk a rock. Okay, maybe not. But no, I wouldn't wanna
200
live
yards
there.
is a hell of a
It,
throw.
it couldn't have been 200 yards. It couldn't have been. Now that I think back, 100 yards maybe. Okay, I got
What do you
one.
got? Let's hear what you got.
I got the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky. So it's an old hospital that was originally built and served as a tuberculosis hospital. And what's crazy about it is it's believed that as many as 63,000 patients died there.
Holy shit.
63,000.
That's like
How long
several
is this
small
thing?
towns.
How,
you know
how,
what I mean?
when did it open? I mean, do you have any information like that as far as how long it stayed running for these 63,000 people to be?
Okay, originally it was like a two-story wooden building opened in 1910, but what you see today was built in 1926.
Okay.
So, anyway, the death toll was supposedly due to mistreatment and questionable experimental treatments going on there.
Now, that goes along with what we were saying last episode, how a lot of these ghosts and apparitions are like manifestations
right.
because they're pissed off of what happened in their
Right.
actual life.
Right.
So continue, sorry.
That's my favorite thing about ghost sites. There's always some kind of
The
weird,
story.
crazy thing behind it. The ones that don't have a story don't interest me as much. But if there's something really sick went down, I want to know about it.
Makes
I
it
don't
more
know why.
believable. I mean, if you're going to sell a ghost story, you might as well have some good backstory to go along with it. I'm not going to believe the guy goes, hey, you see that house over there?
It's haunted.
Yeah,
Why?
There's a ghost.
because there's ghosts in it. You know?
Oh, okay. But any which way. So this is apparently is famous enough where it's been featured on 3 or 4 different TV shows like Most Haunted or Ghost Adventurers or Ghost Hunters. They go in there, they take their thermal cameras in and try to figure stuff out. They found that, okay, let's see. They took pictures, one of these shows of a 3-foot tall, like, apparition. They found it was the ghost of a young boy named Tim had been spotted there several times. So that's
Tim.
pretty creepy. There's been vast amounts of reports talking about like just shadows that come by, screams coming from empty rooms, your standard voices, footsteps, cold spots.
A real creepy place. You're not going to spend any amount of time unless you're.
Hell no, no sanatorium where 63,000 people died. Also, there's been reports of full body apparitions there. So anytime you get full body apparitions, that's your real ghost sighting there.
Wow, yeah.
So that place is up there on my list, like top
Yeah.
2 or 3 grossly haunted places. 63,000 people died there. There's a hell of a psionic energy type of thing.
I think it's these insane asylums in general that are just always loaded with
And-
the worst of the worst. You know, what I mean?
There's like the horror movies that are like staged in the insane asylums that, that's the backstory to the premise. All these people died in such
I wouldn't doubt if they went to that one just for it.
That's right.
It's not. It's probably that is one of the direct influences for all those types of movies.
What was the location again?
That's in Kentucky, Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky.
Okay, I remember not to head that direction.
Yeah, I've only been in
I don't
Kentucky
go near
once or
ghosts.
twice.
As a rule of thumb,
I've been to Paducah.
I leave them alone.
Didn't
I
see
go-
any haunted houses there.
Hey,
Shout
you know
out
the
Paducah.
big Hollywood sign in I guess Los Angeles out
In
there?
Hollywood?
In Hollywood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there.
That's haunted. It's a state park now.
That's
really?
haunted?
Yeah, it was owned by Don Antonio Feliz, and when he first owned it, I believe it was back in the early 1900s. He went up there and left. I'm sorry. He wanted out of an inheritance from his uncle after he cheated him and ended up getting him killed.
What an asshole.
Yeah, it was always had a cursed aspect to it ever since it first started. But he gave a group of he gave chase to on horseback to a group of businessmen who had gathered in the park for a fiesta. And whenever he showed up, he ended up killing 3 of the 4 of them, and the last guy ran off to tell the story. And then
You got to leave one alive.
Gotta have a witness.
A little 22 years later, in 1932, a failed actress in Hollywood at the time named Peg Entwistle, she committed suicide from jumping off the first rendition of the Hollywood sign. She climbed to the top of it and dove off and killed herself.
Wow, that's crazy.
And people have reported seeing her creeping through the hills at night.
Man, I went to the Hollywood sign one time. Of course, it was about 5 o'clock in the evening when me and April got there. It was just a park. I mean, there's a hill that's got the Hollywood sign up there, and there's a big roundabout walking. It's just a neighborhood that surrounds it.
That's it. It's just
the
in a
Hollywood
neighborhood.
Hills.
See, that's what I say. Everybody sees that. You see that in pop culture all the time. The big
It doesn't
Hollywood.
look like
That's
that
never
giant
dawned on
hill
me
like
as
that
something
so
that's
much.
really because
Whenever you're up there on it, it doesn't look like it.
Right.
Really?
Just a big hill in the middle of a little neighborhood. Or something.
I've
Or a
never
big neighborhood, I guess.
never considered that to be like a haunted place. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Even like the park rangers and the tree trimmers that work there have reported seeing, or hearing dismembering, moaning, and spooking whispers, and they get ghostly messages written into the windows of their cars and vehicles while they work, and they say they can't trim half the trees in there because they're just too scared to go up there.
Really? I'd hire a new crew.
What else you got, E.T.?
I'd get Kurt's Quick Cuts on it. That's what I'd do. Anyways, here's another one. And this one I'd never heard of before today, but the name got me. So it's the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. So in 1912, Josiah Moore and his wife and 4 children. Josiah. You like that?
No.
Anyways, so the 2 house guests, also children, were brutally attacked and murdered by an unknown assailant with an axe while they slept. Only one of the victims showed signs of a struggle. That's the crazy part. So the home is apparently haunted by the 8 victims that were murdered there, and you can check it out for yourself. They do tours and overnight stays that are both available for booking. I must have got like a travel thing here.
Reminds me of Limp.
Because everyone at the end is like, well, you can book your stay or overnight tour.
You might have got on.
Damn, I think I got a travel one here.
That's what you get when you don't completely read your research beforehand.
That's all right. If you're interested, you can book your tour or overnight stay.
We're not giving out free. Google that stuff. I got one. You want to hear my number one?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
My number one most haunted place that I found was it's called the Ancient Ram Inn. It's in Gloucestershire, England.
Ram it in.
So it was built in 1145. Let that settle. 900 years ago.
That's a long time.
It's perhaps the most haunted house in the world. There's tales from everything going from child sacrifices to devil worship to evil spirits being trapped in the building. The hotel itself, the inn, was built on the intersection of 2 ley lines. And, of course, if you're familiar with paranormal stuff, you know what the ley lines are. They're basically energy lines that circle the entire planet. They go between, your hot spots.
And they go through a lot of ancient sites that are archaeologically.
There's a grid over the earth, which is not a real grid,
right,
but
like through Easter Island to the pyramids, and
that's what he's talking about.
We're not
ley
going to talk
lines.
about the ley. Just Google ley lines if you're interested. In
They go by other names as well, also, but
Sure.
I'd never heard them called that before today.
In addition, it's also been thought that this place was a pagan burial ground that's been in use for over 5,000 years. Tell me that ain't some time to build up some bad
Wow.
juju.
Yeah, and pagans are horrible, too, from what I hear.
Why? What do you mean pagans are horrible? Pagan is a generic term.
Paganism. Isn't
it's
that
just
like
anyone that's not Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
Basically.
I thought it was like the...
No.
What was that movie with Dan Aykroyd?
Oh, my God. Dragnet?
Yeah.
You know pagan was short for something in that?
No, I
it was
didn't.
an acronym. I don't remember what, but it was an acronym.
We're tackling the hard subjects here. What was it?
I don't recall. But it had nothing to do with pagans.
Well, even like Native Americans were
gave that
pagans, so
snake those drugs.
you
Well,
just think
heathen.
it was like on an ancient Indian burial ground, except it was not
Yeah.
Indian, North American.
So during the time this place was used as a bed and breakfast, people would often run out in the middle of the night just due to being scared shitless. They'd see full body apparitions in their room, the feeling of being touched or pulled, they hear voices, and just a general feeling of evil.
And this one's
presence.
where? The
This
Ram
is-
Inn?
It's the Ancient Ram Inn in Gloucestershire, England.
England. Okay,
Yep.
ram it in England.
Yep. The guy that owns it now is a guy named John. He bought it in 1968, and he said the first night that he stayed there, he felt a presence grab his arm. Right before he was jerked out of his bed and drug across the room.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. That's serious interaction there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a very disgruntled spirit.
He said he's found evidence of devil worshiping going on at the site, child sacrifices, ritual sacrifices. He actually found 2 child skeletons hidden underneath the staircase, as well as broken daggers.
Really?
So he's still looking around, and they're continuing to explore the place and look around.
The guy actually found 2 child skeletons?
So the story goes.
Wow.
But that place is crazy, in my opinion. It could be the most haunted place in the world. It seems like it to me, anyway.
I got a fun one.
Uh-oh.
You guys ready for a fun one?
Sure,
The White House.
The White House
is supposedly haunted in Washington, D.C. The White House is arguably the most recognizable house in America, possibly the world. Everyone knows that. Considering its past tenants, it may have the country's most well-known ghosts. Many people have reported seeing ghosts inside the White House, and the most popular, allegedly, being President Abraham Lincoln. This was cool. Among the spotters is British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who said he saw Lincoln's ghost after emerging from a bath where he was naked and smoking a cigar. So Winston Churchill has actually said he saw Lincoln's ghost in the White House.
Hey, well, I mean, Winston was a drunk. Let's just get
Right.
that
I mean,
out
if
there.
he was naked smoking a cigar, their chances are there was a bottle of brandy around.
I'm telling you, exactly right.
I gotcha.
But there's a story that goes along with Abe Lincoln and that. Did you know he had a dream that about a week before he was killed that he was going to be assassinated?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Abe did?
What, did he write it down in a diary or something? They did that a lot back
he
then.
talked to somebody about it. Yeah, and then a week later he was killed.
That makes sense.
Mm.
Pretty nuts.
I got one here in Hummel Park in Nebraska. Oh, right outside of Omaha. It's paranormal gold, really. There's horrific origins of the park to begin with. It was pre-Civil War, and it was mostly Africans America that lived in Omaha.
Africans America?
African Americans
Gotcha. I'm
near
with you.
Hummel Park. It was reported that multiple people were being lynched back then.
Hell yeah.
An ideal place to carry out the crime because of the overhanging trees.
Where was it? Iowa?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska was Indian country way back in, like Ogallala territory and whatnot.
Yeah.
What was it?
Ogallala.
Well, after right before the Civil War, they would be lynching these African Americans like crazy, so they would hang them in the low, sturdy trees in the area. Well, after years of this, residents started reporting seeing ghostly hanging bodies swinging from their gnarled branches. But since the 1980s, there's been 2 more people found murdered at Hummel Park. One was a prostitute who was killed on site, which is, I guess, that isn't really a ghostly thing. But there was a 12-year-old girl whose skeletal remains were found there. And some people report seeing the young girl trampling over the land. Well, if you climb up to the top of this state park, it's got something called the morphing stairs. It's a long stone staircase that leads to the top of the hill.
Did you say morphing?
Morphing stairs.
Okay.
Well, they call it that because you never count the same number of steps going up as you will coming down.
Really?
And
That's cool.
There's evidence of satanic worship all over at the top. It's where they've been performing satanic rituals since, I imagine, right before the 1980s. And they'll see graffitis and pentagrams and symbols all over the park structures. And then they got a devil's slide on the other side, which is a real steep cliff where multiple suicides have occurred.
Suicides or accidental fallings?
Well, it sounds like probably devil-worshipping sacrifice, shoving people off the edge of the cliff.
I could imagine how that goes. Hey, Larry, come over here and take a look at this.
Or, hey, you want to come to this party at this devil worshiper? Yeah, okay. And then you throw the guy off the cliff.
You're the guest of honor.
Why am I on this altar in the middle of the table, in the middle of the room, guys?
Right. It's because you're special.
Right.
So I got one. I got called Fort George, a.k.a. the Citadel. It's in Nova Scotia, Canada. It's like a star-shaped fort. It's almost 300 years old. It's supposedly Canada's most haunted historic site. It's built in the town of Halifax in 1749. Staff and visitors have noticed some things like a soldier in uniform walking around in some of the rooms, or an old man, an old woman, or a man in a red cloak is something a lot of people have seen. An older lady has been known to show up in the mirrors of the place, which is pretty freaking creepy.
You know what's neat to me is how multiple guests to many of these places will see the same character. over and over, as opposed to just seeing a ghost or hearing a noise. They'll see actually the same thing without
those
ever
are the ones
talking to each other.
They're either it's mass hysteria or the truth. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's one way or the other.
We just had an interesting comment on YouTube. It says, this is from Touched by a 12 Gauge. What if ghosts are people who woke up from the Matrix and it's the machines glitching out of connection lost from the pod?
That's a dumb idea. It was JB, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I thought it was interesting.
Think on it and come back to it.
What about the
Anyway.
Lizzie Borden house?
Lizzie Borden house. That's that girl who supposedly chopped up her family with an axe, right?
Yes, yes. You guys all know the rhyme. Lizzie Borden had an axe. She gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Yep.
So she, despite being acquitted of butchering her parents with an axe in a New England home in 1893, this little rhyme will forever haunt the memory of Lizzie Borden. Visitors of the home claim that Lizzie's parents still haunt the home and have been reporting apparitions, cold spots, and even screams and cries. So that
See, I don't know about that.
That's in the
Lizzie
French
Borden.
Quarter.
I think she was just crazy and chopped her family up. I don't think there was any.
She was
ghost
acquitted.
involved.
well,
She didn't
they
do
do
it.
consider her a serial killer. So they say she was a singular kind of evil. She appeared to be an upstanding member of the New Orleans social elite in the 1800s, and by all accounts was a perfectly pleasant person as far as the antebellum South societal standards go. But despite her genial outward appearance, Madame... Oh, no, wait a minute.
Did you get out of
Yes,
order on your notes?
I sure
there?
did. But either way, the chick was a serial killer. You know what I mean?
Well,
Lizzie
she killed a
Borden.
couple people. How's she just? She
I
does
think
one
she
mass
just killed her
murder.
parents. Didn't she?
I mean, what's the number that makes you a serial killer? How many? Is there a
That's
number?
good question.
Yeah, I mean,
3?
Well,
4?
anytime you do a series based on something, it's serial killer. If you do two people, that's they're not.
That's not a
related.
series?
Well, yeah, it's based on killing her parents. They were the only parents, so she finished
Yeah,
this.
I call that one helping, not two.
One helping, huh?
So I don't know what else you guys got. You got anything else interesting?
Oh, man. My favorite, the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. And I like this because at my work, we deal with a place that makes the Winchester bullets.
Sure. Or is it related? Same family? Do you know?
Yes, that's it, exactly. Okay, so what it is, it's in San Jose, California, the home of Sarah Winchester, wife of William Wirt Winchester, the gun magnate, i.e. Winchester Rifles. The house was haunted, according to everyone, including the original owner, which was Sarah Winchester. She said it was the spirits of all the people that the Winchester Rifles had killed that haunted this house.
That's got to be a lot of
Have
people.
you seen? I've looked into this house before. It's really weirdly made. Construction never ceased on that house.
No,
Oh,
construction
that-
stayed all the way
okay.
until she died. She was
She kept it going. There's staircases that don't go anywhere, doors that don't even
Wasn't
open
there?
into rooms,
Wasn't one of the reasons she kept building it is because these ghosts were messing with her?
or something like that. I think she was just batshit crazy, but there might have been ghosts. Who knows what her reasoning was?
Okay, so here this says she inherited an estimated $20 million, and with that she did around the clock construction. Around the clock construction without plans or any. She didn't have any, like she didn't set. She was just build that.
And
Around the
then
clock,
she'd just
no
walk
plans.
around
Yes,
and just tell people
just
put a
spending money.
staircase there. I want you to build a door there.
The result was a twisting maze with a strange nonsense design, stairs that led to nowhere, doors open to walls, and some chimneys stopped short of the roof. Today, the house is available for touring, but I suspect it's some sort of mystery.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, doors that open into
Well,
walls
at least
and-
in her mind, everyone that died from one of her guns was driving her insane. All these ghosts were probably just pestering her day in, day out. I would like to see a strangely built house like that, though.
It sounds like just your standard fun house in a carnival, but way more deep.
I like great big mansions with secret passages everywhere
Well,
because
speaking of great big mansions,
ghosts always go through secret passages.
and I don't know a lot about it, but the Lymph Mansion in St. Louis is supposedly really, really haunted. Do you guys have any clue about why?
I've never been there.
I got a pretty decent little article here on it,
What
and
do you got?
it's little, but it gives you some information here. So, it built in 1886. The Lymph Mansion was the home of
Who's your
brewer.
source?
My source? Yeah, I don't reveal my sources. Huh.
Well, if you're going to read it like verbatim.
Yeah, all right, Mashable. Anyways, the Lymph family donated the beer. Dominated the Missouri beer scene since the late 1800s. Despite their success, William's son Frederick, who suffered from poor health, passed away in 1901. In January of 1904, William's friend Frederick Pabst, spelled P-A-B-S-T, passed away. Devastated, William Lymph committed suicide in 04. Among other suicides that took place in the home were He kept his illegitimate son Zeke that had Down syndrome in the attic, but there's no claims to support that, it says. But there's also other spirits that haunt the mansion, which is a restaurant, inn, and theater today. But I guess this was a brewery.
Yeah. Well, no, there was a Limp Brewery, and then the mansion was owned by the family who owned the brewery.
Okay, well, yeah, that's funny because his friend Pabst. Pabst is Pabst. Everybody drinks PBR. Yeah, that's a.
Not everybody. I don't drink it.
Yeah, you don't drink anything but Diet Mountain Dew.
That's fair. No, but I've seen it in all kinds of stuff on local media, like Dave Glover's show on 97.1. They do something every Halloween at the Limp Mansion. It's a big deal.
Oh, they have like a big thing there every time?
So, yeah, if you're in the haunted houses, take a look. LEMP, Limp Mansion in St. Louis. That's a good one to look at.
I mean, if you're going to a haunted spot, it might as well be a brewery or at least a beer family. Anywhere I can get drunk to see a ghost, that's the best.
Let's switch to
the
the
other
other
there
side.
you go. Do you think that they were just drinking? I mean,
They could have. Who knows what they were doing?
Yeah.
Let's go to the other side of the planet, Sweden, a town called Borgvatnet. It's a small village in northern Sweden. It's supposedly has one of the most haunted houses in all of Sweden. The old place was built in 1876, but the first ever ghost encounter was documented in 1927, where the chaplain, a man named Nils Hedlund, lived. Many strange happenings happened, including one particular encounter with something paranormal. He was on his way up to the attic to gather his laundry when he witnessed the laundry being pulled down the line by an unseen force.
Really?
So that's pretty weird. So later on down the line in the 30s, there was he was a priest named Rudolf Tengden. He saw an old woman dressed in gray just appear into a room. He tried to follow her, but she vanished right in front of his eyes. His successor in the 40s, a man named Otto Lindgren, and his wife, say they had many paranormal experiences, including unexplained sounds and moving objects. On one occasion, there was a woman who was staying in one of the guest rooms, was awoken late at night, and saw 3 old women sitting and staring at her. She quickly turned on the lights, and they were still there staring at her, but apparently had gotten blurry. So I don't know how that story ends. It's just the way the story goes. In 1945, the chaplain Eric Lindgren moved into the house, and he began recording a journal of many of his own experiences. He reported being thrown out of his chair regularly by some unseen force.
Oh, I'd get old, wouldn't it?
So it's currently serving as a restaurant and cafe, as well as like a guest house. If you want to stay there the entire night, you'll receive a certificate to prove it if you end up doing it. So that's in.
It's that spooky.
It's that big of a deal they give you up.
In Sweden. If you get to northern Sweden, check it out.
I don't know if I'll ever make it there.
That would be terrible, being in a house you're constantly being pestered by this ghost, and you just know this ghost is a dick because he just keeps messing with me, throwing all my dishes on the ground, knocking me out of my chair.
Do you guys ever see those memes on Facebook? It's like, would you stay in this house for $1 million for one night? Yes, I don't care how many ghosts. Yes, if I'm getting a guarantee I'm not dying, I will stay there.
Well, they can't guarantee that. Ghosts can kill you.
Right, but
are you willing to die?
How many million?
Well, I
no amount of millions is worth dying.
Right.
But you might die.
That's like saying, I'll give you $1 billion to try out this experimental rocket that's got a 2% chance of success. No, not happening.
You change it up to 20, I'm there.
I got another place here. It's a place called Poveglia Island in Italy. It's a little island just off the coast. It was completely abandoned by the 14th century, but it used to be used as a place for people to seek refuge from invaders and shit like that. They just hop off the mainland and head over to this little island. Any which way, it was also used as a place for people to go when the bubonic plague was happening. They kind of quarantined the place and put people there with bubonic plague on that island.
Really?
But it was completely abandoned eventually by like the 14th century, until apparently there's a rumor that a mental asylum was put there in the 1800s. So kind of adding to the allure of the island. There's a lot of bad juju on it. Some people say that's not the case though. Apparently in the 30s, the doctor is believed to have committed suicide, jumping to his death from a bell tower on the island. There's all kinds of stuff. It was used as a geriatric center in the late 20th century, mid to late 20th century.
Man, this thing's got a long history, huh?
Yeah, it's abandoned again now. The locals won't even go over there. Fishermen won't fish off the island. They consider it just they don't. The fishermen don't want to do it because they think they're going to pull up body parts.
Oh right.
Not even shitting you.
Really?
So
pulling up old bones and stuff.
There people have did recordings there and got a lot of like the electronic voice phenomenon where you record and go back and listen to it later. You can hear like whispers like, "You're gonna die, asshole," or something like that.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Pretty much. There's been a few TV shows that have gone there as well. So that's a pretty good one to check
Places that are so haunted it keeps the locals away are always terrible.
So
Yeah,
if
you know,
wanna
there's
check
got to
that
be
one
something
out,
to those if the locals won't even go there.
If you want to check it out, it's Poveglia Island. It's Poveglia Island in Italy. So Google it.
What about the Amityville Horror?
I mean, I never saw the movie, but I heard
I never have either. But
Amityville, New York is supposed to be it's
Exactly.
based on a true story.
yeah, so it says here on November 13th, 1974, police discovered 6 members of the DeFeo family murdered inside the house at 112 Ocean Avenue in the quaint Long Island town of Amityville. Ron DeFeo, the eldest son, would eventually confess to the crimes, and the house lay vacant for 13 months. When George and Kathy Lutz moved into the home in December of 1975, they apparently started to experience strange, demonic occurrences despite having the home blessed by a priest. So, wow. So they had their house blessed by a priest, and they still...
That's when you know it's bad. It's like when you have the Orkin man come in and you still got roaches afterwards.
Oh, here you go. After experiencing strange voices, bloody hands, oozing walls, and being awoken at 3:15 a.m. every single day, which is the time the murders occurred, the Lutz family moved out of the home after 28 days and contacted the DeFeo's
That's crazy.
attorney.
They got woken up every day.
Every morning at 3:15 a.m., and that's the exact same time the murders occurred. So that they contacted the DeFeo family attorney. Eventually, a best-selling book and 2 films were produced. Many doubted the Lutz claims, but he openly admitted to embellishing his story for Hollywood. So he added a little bit just to help out, but
Creative license.
exactly, yeah, exactly. But but the Amityville, that's a real one. The Amityville Horror.
Yep. Hey, one thing I want to add to that Poveglia Island, it's been inhabited since 421 AD that we know of, on and off. So that's 1,600 years.
Well, that's where people have been running for shelter forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
they
pretty
to
nuts.
get away from armies, or if they're getting too elderly and need somewhere safe, they go out there.
So I got one more good one that I wouldn't mind talking about. It's a place called the Island of the Dolls. It's in Xochimilco, Mexico.
Bunch of Barbies on there? Or?
No, what had happened in the 1950s, a guy named Julian Santan Barrera moved to the island, which was strange because he had a wife and kids. It doesn't look like, from what I've seen, that they went with him.
Mm-hmm.
Any which way, he was not
Must have hated
aware
him.
of the weird, dark history of the island whenever he moved out there. So apparently in the 20s, there was 3 young girls playing near the water there when one of the girls fell in and drowned in the murky waters. Since her death, the locals actually believe that her spirit is unable to leave the island, and it grew a reputation as quite the haunted attraction locally. So even locals won't go there near at night. It's that kind of spooky place to locals.
And it's called Dolls Island?
Island of the Dolls.
Island of the
and there's a
Dolls.
reason for that. I'm getting to that. So Julian claimed as soon as he moved to the island, the little girl who died began speaking to him, apparently. She told him how he died, that she was trapped there. And he started buying dolls for this little girl. He would take the fruit and vegetables that grew on the island, sell it, take the money, and buy dolls. And what he would do with these dolls is he would wrap a cord around their neck and hang them from the trees. So on this island in Mexico,
That's a sick way to give.
Yeah,
dolls,
he sounds like
know?
the twisted one.
yeah, there's thousands of dolls hanging
All
from these
hanging.
trees. So that's pretty creepy.
I wouldn't want
Right.
to walk through a forest like that.
You know, like your eye with one eyeball missing and the ratty hair and a burn mark.
The
on
reason
it.
he was doing this, he told his nephew later on that he was doing it to appease the girl's thirst. Like the little girl had a thirst for these dolls, and
Needed 'em.
as time went on, it seemed like she wanted more and more of them. Weirdly, but people like tourists that go to check out the island, they often say that the doll's eyes will follow you. Like they get the feeling that they're watching you.
Really?
So that's pretty creepy. So check that out. It's Island of the Dolls in Xochimilco, Mexico. That's Xochimilco, Mexico.
Wow. So basically, what we're saying here is there's places all over the world, everywhere, from one end of the country to the other, one end of every continent to the other. There's haunted places. There's places with stories, verifiable facts and evidence.
Dating back hundreds of years.
Hundreds, sometimes thousands.
I mean, you can say that it's a bunch of just scared people scared of the dark, but
I
don't
mean,
know.
they wouldn't have lasted this long if it was just the dark.
as David Duchovny once said, I want to believe.
I don't know. They record voices. They even get images on camera.
Scully didn't believe in aliens. Still did her job.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, you guys got anything else for this part? I'm pretty well done with the haunted.
No, man.
Let's
I'm
just say
haunted
there-
out.
There's shit tons of places on this planet that's haunted. Get on Google, check it out. Maybe even Yahoo if that's
I
your
just
thing.
look it up just so I know not.
Nobody uses Yahoo anymore. Come on.
Yeah, maybe you can get on Alta Vista or Ask Jeeves.
I need to figure out where
Get
they're
the
at just so I can avoid them. I don't want to be anywhere near a ghost.
So I'm planning my
No.
next trip around those.
That's
So that I
what
don't-
it is.
One thing I've heard in my research is that ghosts don't like electronics, so go ahead and get like an electronic field generator and just kind of have it hooked up to your body at all times, so you're emitting EMP radiation.
I could just wear like a virtual reality
radiation.
mask, so I don't have to see him anyway.
That's one way to go about it.
But what if they get into the virtual reality?
They don't like electronics. He just said.
Yeah, but man,
Well, maybe they don't like it, but that's not saying they can't get it.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
I mean, they don't like us either, but they still fuck with us. So.
Yep. All right, roll that beautiful bean footage.
All right, I guess that is my compadre telling me that we are wrapping up this episode.
We're going to be coming back for part 3, though. We're going to hit the pop culture side. Like
like we always do. So remember to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Surreal Talk.
Ooh.
Ooh.
We're going to read a couple ghost stories we found on the internet and some user-generated or user-submitted stuff. Or listener-submitted stuff.
So remember to watch us here in about 20 more minutes on our next part 3 of this episode because...
It'll probably be a little bit longer. I want to try to get some dinner before we get going. We've been at this for like 4 hours now.
Right on. But yeah, there are some good user stories, some people that listen to us that have contacted
they sent
us.
some stuff in. We were asking last week on our Facebook page, send in your stories. And so we had a few submissions.
Am I out of line by asking for a poll on your favorite ghost story or your favorite?
Well, what would you say goes on there? Because for a poll, you got to have answers.
Your favorite ghost.
Your favorite ghost.
Okay, dumbasses, would you listen to me? It's a poll. You provide the answers, and they vote on
Yeah,
it.
Right. Well,
whenever
we'll
we
have
go to
like
pop
10 of them,
culture,
but I'm just
yeah.
seeing if the
So
poll is a
what are
doable thing.
So your favorite ghost, Bloody Mary,
Right.
the Ghost of Kingdom
Anything.
Kong or something?
Yeah, we'll come up with a list.
Yeah, we'll get a list.
Okay, I got you.
But remember, find us on Twitter at Surreal Talk Show. You can also find a live recording of every show on YouTube. I suspect that's what you guys are watching now. Surreal Talk live stream. You'd be able to find us. And remember, give us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, or your favorite podcast provider.
I can't let you just leave it at, we're on YouTube. You'll find us. YouTube.com/Surreal.
I said Surreal Talk live stream.
Yeah, well, it's
Search
YouTube.com.
Search it.
I'm going to kill you. YouTube.com/Surreal Talk Podcast for those of you who are actually looking.
Surreal Talk Podcast. You can also email us at info@surrealtalkpodcast.com. Remember to always like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for listening. This has been Surreal Talk, a lineupmedia.fm production. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. We still do a podcast, right, where people, don't, they might be a first-time listener or whatever. It's good to give that information.